ego-led investors are driven by appearances. So they're chasing status and they're trying to impress at dinner parties with, I've got 6 properties. That's an appearance thing. They're motivated by the fear of missing out, which we just talked to. They're addicted to activity. They confuse activity with accomplishment, always needing the next deal, the next one. Movement equals progress is an ego-led investor. They lack cohesion because every property is driven by an external need to be validated by other people, not by a need to be part of a purposeful plan. So lacks cohesion. Feels like a roller coaster. So one rate rise or a vacancy, or suddenly they're stressed or second guessing everything. And then the final thing is, what's the outcome of all of that? It's stress, confusion, burnout, often very little progress towards actual financial freedom. So they might look successful on paper, but deep down they're anxious, reactive, and unsure what it's all really for. And chances are that's a Frankenstein portfolio. Now let's talk about goal-led investing, Ben.
Yeah, Bryce, and in terms of goal-led investing, it's really simple, right? Because it's driven by intention. So every decision is anchored on clear vision in terms of what financial freedom looks like, right? What's our lifestyle by design that we're going for? What is that? It's motivated by purpose. So at the end of the day, I've got this vision to go around to all the different sort of World Heritage Listed areas. I've got a purpose for that. I've also got a family purpose, giving my boys and Jane and I the best opportunity in life in terms of what that is. So you can have multiple purposes aligned to a broader goal. Usually you want to be disciplined and patient. Again, stop rushing and start thinking methodically. You're going to build that house. You want to have a good set of plans in terms of which to build that. Doesn't mean that you're going to perfectly build it the first time, but from those plans, and if you're running your business, you're a small private rental accommodation business, you're going to be in good shape because you've got a budget and you're understanding how that works. Structured and strategic. It doesn't feel like momentum early, but I tell you what, it does. It starts to build up and have momentum over the years, then the decades. And Bryce and I can speak from experience in terms of that momentum. And now it's like, whoa, sitting here looking at where we are today, and in my personal circumstances, what does that look like in 20 years? That's going to be pretty nuts, right? In terms of that additional value, right? Because I'm not touching the capital base. That's still growing. I'm just living off the passive income that comes off the back of that. And then so it all comes back to then outcome, which is a big, wow, calm, clarity, confident. I have got financial security. And and our mission is to make 10,000 other people feel the same way in terms of what that story looked like. So, and that doesn't necessarily have to be, the person with the most property wins. It can be with just 2 or 3 or 4 really good selections, and then just let time do the heavy lifting for you as part of that, and you can sleep easy at night.
I love it, Ben. If you can cast your mind back 2 episodes, Ben, we did a Q&A and we spoke about Jason, who was talking about getting his wife back on the same page. So what you just said then is kind of the conversation that Jason reminds his wife and every other. We made an assumption it was his wife. That's right. So his partner. That you just said you have that calm, that clarity, and that confidence. And I think when you contrast that to the ego-led investor who can be stressed and confused and burnt out versus calm, clarity, and confidence, I think that's one of the conversation pieces that you would have when Jason was asking for the advice around that. Just to go, the map actually, when you know where you are and where you want to be, and you've got a map for how to bridge that gap. Gosh. That is just
now. I realise again, it's we're sitting on the peak of financial peace, and so it's easy for us to say that. So I can appreciate there's still a little bit of uncertainty, and I can appreciate there's still calculated risk that goes with that. So we don't want to underestimate that, but what you have got is if you are well planned, you've got risk mitigation in there. You've got cash flow modelling that allows you to buy time to reset yourself in the event of a surprise and an unanticipated event. you've got an idea in terms of what you're going to be spending your money on. And so you've got some discipline around that as well. So I think bringing all those things together really, rolls it into, it's going to be more efficient, more effective, and you're going to get a better outcome if you plan to become what you plan to become.
Imagine this, Ben, you've got a room full of people. Let's say there's 100 people. On one side of the room, Frankenstein portfolios. On the other side, purpose-led portfolios, goal-led portfolios. The collective energy, I reckon, would be, to your point, you don't have the full calm, the full clarity, and the full confidence until you are at the peak. But I promise you, in the accumulation phase, I would take the collective energy of the
every day,
the goal-led investors over
every day. That making that invisible visible is what got me through the uncertainty.